Go through.
Can he space you in case you want to know, like, he's like have a moment of amnesia?
That's why I just write in like Sharpie on my wrist, like, yeah, I'm Charlie.
I'd like to say it was had a really tough night last night.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right, let's call to order the December 15th meeting of the Capital District Regional Planning Commission. Welcome, everybody. I don't think Carolyn McLaughlin is here, so we'll go right to the recognition. Take the lead here.
Sure. So it's pretty rare that somebody sticks with something for 20 years, unless it's your family. But I'm pleased to report that Jim Shaughnessy has stuck with the CDRPC board for 20 years, 2003 to 2023. So today marks the conclusion of his 20th year on the CDRPC board. So please join me in thanking him. So we have a couple things, maybe we can do a little photo with David and Jim. So we have a resolution that goes through all the wheres and what fors of Jim's service. I was tempted to put in how bad of a golfer he is in the resolution, but I decided not to.
But he's played better than us.
Yes, and a plaque just recognizing.
So were you 10 years old when you got on the?
Oh, yeah, I was 12, like very close.
Well, Jim and I are close to the same age, but you know, I remember what I was doing in 2003, was not serving on CDRPC boards.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you. I often think of the buyer's remorse I had after my very first meeting 20 years ago, joining this board, when some of you may remember, the first meeting was a 4-hour marathon session of interviews to hire a new executive director. I think you were there. It was Iraqi, it was Iraqi, and it was very contentious, and there was some political needs were there, and there was a lot of arguing, and I said, what did I get myself into? But it's been all downhill after that, and it's been a pleasure. Ever since then, it's been a pleasure. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I need a board package. Do you have an extra board package?
Yeah, it's right there. Thought I had both on your desk.
You did. Far be it from me to steal a board packet from the chair. Thank you.
I thought it was handed one, but we got this figured. I might not last 20 years. Stealing the executive director's board packet. All right, in the packet, we have the October 18th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Making a motion? Second, all in favor?
Hi.
Financial statements through November 30th, 2023. Mark, we go through this?
Sure. So we are in a good cash position. We have sufficient money in the bank. And I'm not seeing the financials. There we go. So we're tracking on the revenue side, just under 75% to par. Par at this time of the year would be 80. The underperformance to par is because we haven't charged for our Q4 charge to the granting agencies for our Q4 expenses. Expenses are at 80%. So we're tracking a little under on expenses. It's primarily due to the fact that we have not spent a large portion of our consultant budget on the broadband project because we have been delayed starting that. On the balance sheet, we had $263,000 in the bank. Outstanding receivables of $319,000. Any questions?
Make a motion to accept the financial statement. Say motion. Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Hi.
2024 proposed CDRPC budget. Mark?
Right, so the overall 2024 budget represents a 9% increase over the 2023 budget. This is primarily due to some new revenues coming in from the EPA grant. We have some additional revenues coming in for some of our broadband planning projects. The member county contribution, as you recall, in July, we asked the counties for 3% more. The counties have been amenable to that, so the new contribution from the counties will be $222,000. Last year, every county dollar invested in CDRPC leveraged $5.75 of outside revenue. You'll go down to CDRPC workshops. We budget conservatively at $5,000 for expenses. Foreign trade zone, we have a new operator this year, which is GE Verona. So we will be doubling that budget. You'll note on the budget as it's proposed. While our contract with NYSERDA technically expires in March, Todd has assured me, and I believe it's to be true, that we will continue with the contract extension for that. So that was anticipated revenues are reflected in the budget. Same for the Climate Smart program funded by DEC. The long-term control plan CSO budget, you'll see, is reduced this year. As you may recall, Martin Daly continues to work part-time, but we still do incur administrative expenses for my time, Amy's time, and our financial officer's time to administer that board of directors. Budget increases for, you see the funding for EDA, which stays flat from at $70,000. Our water quality budget increases this year. We have a new grant term with the DEC, and that grant is increased by $32,000, which will assist us in hiring a new water quality person to run that program. UPWP is also increased. Half of that new hires projected expenses will be charged to UPWP, and that's the transportation folks down the hall. And it's anticipated that finally we'll be able to spend the broadband money that we budgeted for the past couple of years in 2024 for the DOS broadband planning grant. On the salary line, the salaries reflect full-time professional staff of 9, an intern, and our financial officer. Office equipment is standard. Workshops, this line funds an in-person workshop in 2024 in the continued price gouging perpetrated by Mazzone Hospitality. Just some editorial commentary about that. Consultant services, as I said before, we're looking at the continued maintenance of our Capital Region Indicators website, maintenance support services associated with the website, the audit, and the feasibility study for the creation of an open access network, which we'll talk about later, and some services related to our EPA grant. Computers and software, we always budget in enough funding to replace some new computers. The board did approve last time a $10,000 budget increase to this year's budget for a new server. While we don't physically have that in place, that'll fall on this year's budget, so it's not reflected in the 24 budget. And you can see all the software that we spend. The travel line is increased. Our outreach coordinators post-pandemic are getting out into the field more, and that's reflected in the increased travel expenses. Telephone and internet. This year we invested in a new phone system to replace our 25-year-old phone system. Workers' comp and disability insurance, the increases to those that I think everyone's been suffering have been included in the budget. Unemployment insurance is the same. And while we did not have the actual rates for insurance, when I put this proposed budget together, we did get them at the end of last week. So this budget anticipates a 5% increase. I think the actual increase to insurance was lower than a 5% increase. So that being said, it's a conservative number. The presented budget's balanced, and our fund balance at the close of 2022 was just over $700,000. And thanks to Joe for your guidance this year as treasurer, keeping us on track and everything above board. Any questions on the budget?
Mark, I have 2 questions.
Mhm.
US broadband money, what actually is for it?
So the DOS broadband money, we've been hemming and hawing. So there's a couple different levels. So the federal government is releasing money for infrastructure investments for broadband. And so there's this term called BEAD, broadband equity and deployment. That's the acronym. The state had to develop a B plan. And that B plan outlines a variety of activities and priorities that the state has identified for that funding. So we had been in conversations with our counties. They're all in different stages of planning for broadband, and they all have different needs. Albany County, for example, has a real need in the hill towns. Saratoga County is exploring connecting some of their underserved areas now. So we don't want to duplicate those efforts. So what is being proposed that we spend our money on, and it's also something that the New York State Connect All office is encouraging us to do, is to do a feasibility study on an open access network. And so that's middle mile fiber backbone that is publicly owned infrastructure. On the one hand, it's open access because any ISP, internet service provider, can tap into it. So we would help them connect to more customers potentially. And since any ISP can connect to this infrastructure, it has the potential to increase competition among the ISPs, because ISPs traditionally are very parochial about where their infrastructure is, and they sometimes keep other competitors out in a variety of ways, but this will hopefully help to increase competition. What's more, the Connect All office has a priority to provide, or cause to be provided, symmetrical gigabit service. Symmetrical means a gigabyte going up and a gigabyte coming down to all community anchor institutions that they've identified. And community anchor institutions can be schools, hospitals, airports, town halls, city, village halls, etc. And the advantage of an open access network, this is going to sound contrary to what I just said, is that it's closed. Essentially, it's not connected to the internet. So it's similar to a three-phase line if you're talking about power infrastructure. Three-phase line doesn't go to your house. So you need to tee off a bit. But the benefit to institutions, and we've seen it in the paper, many of them suffering from cybersecurity attacks, is that they can essentially air gap themselves from the larger internet, and still access internet. So it has the potential to be more secure in that regard. And it also has the potential to have some cost savings for those community anchor institutions, should they choose to partner with us. But it's a feasibility study, so the consultants will tell us whether it's feasible. The feasibility study will include proposed routing, leveraging existing rights of way, and it'll outline a business model and project costs.
All right, thanks.
Sorry, that was, I bet you didn't think the answer was gonna be that long.
No, but, that was good. My other question was the consulting service, the big jump, 67,300, what was that?
So the consulting services, yeah, that's basically the 100,000 for the DOS planning grant.
So that is the broadband?
Right,
Yeah, that's all gets hired to do that work.
Mark, I have a basic question. I'm looking at telephone and internet. We still have a lot of, I believe all of your employees
Mhm.
work part-time from home. Is that correct?
Right.
Do we reimburse them for internet or a partial reimbursement for internet if they're, and how do they fall under this umbrella with all the protection?
Well, as an employee of CDRPC, they're eligible for a discount on Rise 15%.
Okay.
But I think the quid pro quo is you can work from home, but you have to pay for your internet and your cell phone.
it's-
And nobody has an issue with it, right?
What they say.
Publicly in a meeting.
Then you say you want to work from the office full time, they're like.
Yeah. No, I get it. I just didn't know if we're saying, work from home today, are they protected with the internet service? And, do we reimburse them for any additional protections that they have? But if you feel they're all good with it, works for, I'm fine.
I haven't heard any complaints, but, the investments that we made in the phone system, allow people who are calling the office to have a seamless experience with the employees because it rings through to their personal cell phones. And anybody who's working from home can access our network through the virtual private.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mark, it's Jason. What were the food, you mentioned your costs for the workshops, because we're experiencing the same thing in Saratoga County. So what are your food costs?
So actual costs for to run the workshop was about, was it 12?
Yeah, the food was almost 9,
Yeah, the food itself was 9 for 150 people,
and then it's
9,000.
1,200. Yeah, and it's like 1,200.
Then the rental
for
fee was a couple
rental.
grand.
So are
So,
you
yeah.
locked? Are you locked into Mazzone with that facility, or do you have
Yes.
options?
Yep,
Nope.
we're locked into the zone with the facility.
Yeah, we experience, I mean, food continues to be our biggest issue. You know, we're over 20,000 now for the day. We went out sealed bid. I mean, those bids ranged from low 20s to $53,000 for food and beverage for a 1-day session in Saratoga. So we're experiencing the same thing. We do have some options. I mean, we hold it at the city center, so we have to use their vendor list, but still, it continues to be an issue that we face here at the county and trying to, you know, keep a budget neutral conference. It's getting increasingly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we've had to increase the fee for attendance to keep it budget neutral. And similar to what you guys do in Saratoga County, we have, you know, we get 5 to 7 sponsors.
Yeah.
So we have different sponsor levels. I think it was 1,500 for lunch, something like that.
It was 750 for one level, 500 for another, and over 1,000 for another. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we raised about 4,000 through the sponsorships, which helps us keep the cost down, because our objective is not to make money, but to break even. So between those sponsorships and raising the rates a little bit, we're able to cover it.
Yeah, we were close.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Get rid
of the pies.
I want to thank Mark, Joe, for your work on the budget, the staff here. I know Mark did a lot of work just making sure that staff feel valued. You know, I've seen some of the material he produces. I think it's terrific. It helps me as a professional as well. So really appreciate it. You know, it's going to be the foreign trade zone. Obviously, it was a great win for us. So we appreciate your work. The last thing is with the broadband. You know, as someone who works in local government, my eyes started glazing over as I heard about these details. So this just proves the value of this organization to be able to work on these issues, which are outside of our day-to-day, to try to move all of our counties forward. So appreciate it. We had did we have first?
I don't think we had a
Okay,
motion.
can I ask for a motion?
Yeah.
Is Judy second? Second. By Joe, all in favor?
Hi.
2024 proposed budget is approved. 2024 meeting schedule.
So yes, we had a friendly edit that Amy noted. June 19th in 2024 is Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday. So it was suggested to move the meeting to June 12th instead. Does anybody have an issue with that?
If anyone plans out that far in advance, God bless you. All right, no questions, no comments. Can I have a motion, please? So moved. By Jackie, second, all in favor? The application to Empire State Development, Mark.
Yeah, so this is another thing that's related to the DOS broadband planning grant. So we had back in early 2023 worked pro bono with the New York State Connect All office, and Maddie here, our GIS maven, first weeks on the job was thrown to the wolves to doing this huge data set analysis of address level data for the Connect All office to determine inconsistencies between federal data and state data. Anyway, overboard stuff about broadband. But the long and the short of it was we developed a relationship with the Connect All office. So now they want to give us $70,000 of match free, not match free, 10% match in money to do the work again in early 2024. And basically to do stuff that is related to broadband planning overall. So my original proposal, which you'll see attached, just includes outreach and payments for our work to do the analysis. But I was subsequently told that we could use the money for part of it for the feasibility study. So the issue with the DOS grant is that it only covers Saratoga, Schenectady, and Rensselaer counties, since Albany County is not currently in the designated area of the grant of the Northern Border Regional Commission. I'm sure you have no idea what I'm talking about here. The federal grant from the Northern Border Regional Commission to the DOS and subgranted to us. So since Albany County is not part of the federal area, they're out. So my plan to backfill that is to use this money from Empire State Development to do the analysis to Albany County so we can have a full regional analysis and feasibility study for this open access network. So when I revise this incentive proposal and send it to ESD, it'll include the information about the feasibility study for the Albany County portion. There is a 10% match requirement. This original proposal, draft proposal, was due November 30th. So I saw approval, the okay from the A&F committee to submit that draft proposal. And I'm seeking authorization from the full board to authorize me to submit the final application to ESD when it's ready. There is a 10% match, and there's a $250 application. Typically, the 10% match with these types of grants we do as a discount. So in other words, we're charging on full rate, we're discounting 10%. I'm still waiting to hear back from Empire State Development, the structure of how we'll need to present our budget. So I unfortunately am not able to provide you with a final draft budget in the attached. But
Any questions? Good to include Albany counties. Federal government clearly are looking to invest more in broadband. No questions? Can I please have a motion?
So move.
Will, second. Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
Ready. Pending bill related to Regional Planning Commission grant eligibility.
right, so the New York State Association of Regional Planning Councils, which is the nonprofit of the regional planning councils across the state, engaged a consultant to work with us to address an issue that has been plaguing regional planning councils for a number of years. And that our grant eligibility is addressed on a case-by-case basis by state agencies. So there may be grant opportunities that the Department of State puts out there for regional planning, but the only ineligible applicants would be regional planning agencies. So this bill simply attempts to remedy that. Back in shortly after I took over here in 2017, I asked Harris Beach to put together a legal memo making the case that CDRPC should be considered a local government for the purposes of eligibility for state and federal grants. And the proposed edit to the general municipal law is the last attachment in your packet.
Mark, how active is the New York State Association?
This is the most active we've been since I've started here. So that group has had a fund balance of about $20,000 that they were sitting on. So a number of us really wanted to see that put to good use. So we decided to engage this consultant to help us to work with the legislature to get something to address this issue. There are also other issues that it would be beneficial for us to use this person to talk to the legislature about, particularly during the session, related to some of our programs that are state funded. Just communicating with them and sharing with them how successful they are and how valuable they are to the communities that they represent. So we continue to have a conversation among the Regional Planning Council leaders about how to most effectively use this person to support the programs that fund us and the work that we do.
Is there a specific grant that you find would be most important to have regional planning access?
So you mean in terms of eligibility?
Yeah.
So eligibility, there was a lot of, so regional planning councils were not considered eligible for like a LWRP. Regional planning councils famously were not eligible for, what was that grant?
Sustainability plan.
Sustainability plan, regional sustainability planning grants. Just bizarre. So this will resolve that.
Mark, it seems to me that this is such a minor fix that we could probably get it, well, I should say probably, that we ought to pursue getting it included in the budget language bill.
We are trying to do that. So that's option A. So John McDonald thankfully is carrying the water as the sponsor. I'll likely be reaching out to the board to potentially reach out to the other members of the assembly and senators once we get the bill introduced to become co-sponsors. So but the plan A is to get it into the budget, buried in the budget bill, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to bury it, but I mean, but yes.
Back in the day when I was personally having meetings with the local government committee staffers about this issue, they, for some reason, raised an issue that we would be somehow competing with the counties that we serve. And simply, if I was competing with the counties that we serve, we'd be out of business, which was logical to me, but that was an issue back then. Now it seems the concerns are not there about this, so hopefully we can get this through this year.
Since this is a live streamed event, I will hold my editorial comments.
So with some of these grant sources, like county in the past, or a way that we've worked around this, would a county apply for it and then contract with CDRPC to serve as the administrator for multi-county effort? Has that been considered, or?
I don't know. How did it work for the sustainability?
Yeah, and so that plan, and that was a decade ago, so we're not having, at least with the GBC contract for outreach and like survey contracts, we're not having any problems with that, with those organizations. But at that time, the city of Albany ended up being the applicant.
Okay.
And then it ran the regional plan through the city's offices. But it wasn't a good fit because ultimately what happens is plan's done, but then there's nobody to shepherd it forward because it's the wrong structure. And so it just became a plan that was a one-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
do
that-
remember that plan, yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is we encounter is when new grant programs are established. If the new grant programs don't specifically say cities, towns, villages, nonprofits, and regional planning councils, then we're not eligible. So it's usually only after we point it out, after the grant has been made public, that that issue is flagged for those new grant opportunities.
Mark, is there, and I wish I knew the answer to this question because I should, a separate piece of enabling legislation which created the Capital District Regional Planning Council, or is that just an opt-in from the 4 counties?
No, so it's under general municipal law, one of the 239s. It allows counties to create regional planning councils.
I saw that.
Right. And establishes them. The 4 counties here, and similar to how other counties have done it across the state and across the country, then agree amongst themselves how it ought to be.
Okay. The reason I asked the question, just explore the universe, is whether or not, if there was a specific enabling act just for this regional planning council, then the ask in the event, the language could be specific just to the Capital District Regional Planning Commission, but then the answer is no. But we ought to do and I'm sure you've done this, the outreach to that umbrella organization, and also have a larger buy-in.
Yeah, they're all the members of the Regional Planning Council Association are bought into this, and they're reaching out to their electeds.
And how about the New York State Association of Counties? Do you think they'll be pushed back? Would we be,
No, Stephen Aquarius has already been contacted about it, and he supports it.
Well, there you go. Good.
So this will obviously open up a lot of grant opportunities for CDRPC. Is there any possibility it would exclude us or exclude the organization by not registering as a local government?
No, I think it just opens up more opportunities, or at least it removes a challenge that's specific to regional planning
Gotcha.
councils, particularly in cases when there are new grant programs out there.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be clear, the New York State Association is paying for the legal expenses. We are, this memorandum is in support of them sending on this,
It's just basically to make this board aware that there's a pending bill that's pending to address this issue.
Okay.
Do you think it should be an action item?
I'm wondering where the action is. We're not spending our money,
Well, indirectly, there's a contribution because there's membership dues.
So our membership dues.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we can't lobby the
Senator McDonald or senators that are assembly meant to support the efforts? Educate.
We can educate them.
Yeah, you might want to do this amendment in support of this
Right.
action, so that you can then say that this board supports the New York State Association, and in turn, I think that we pay those membership dues as part of the budget, right?
Mhm.
But it's not like we don't have additional funds from CDRPC going towards this effort. It's part of our and every other regional council's membership dues.
Right. So yeah, that might be good.
Is everyone in favor of this memorandum of support for this?
I think it's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Definitely.
So,
We need a motion.
a motion as amended,
Take a motion.
Mike,
Second.
Charlie, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
And Mark, it's great that you've taken this initiative proactively.
It's fun, it's fun
Put this to
stuff.
bed.
It's fun stuff.
It has to be. I would think.
We're proving our worth every day, right?
Mhm.
And the ability to continue to develop these plans, regional cooperation is important. You bring up a good point about the sustainability plan. It's been put on the shelf, right? And there's some work being done, but this organization is really moving these ideas forward. So very good.
So if I could just add a question on that. So Mark, this really wouldn't change our definition of how we operate it.
No, it would just
I'm
give,
always worried about like unintended consequences of this action. You know?
it wouldn't change, it's a very, I mean, you can see the language, it's a very light touch.
Yeah,
It's
it's right
just
at the end,
something
right?
to give an attorney in an agency, something that we can point to say, no, look, it says we're eligible.
I run the land bank organizations in Connecticut County as well, and we're set up as a not-for-profit, but they say, for purposes of this, you are also considered a public authority, or, so it's just so that it is defined as this organization that can accept these funds. Very good. I think we're on the staff reports.
Did you want to actually take a?
Did we? We did a motion first. All in favor? We did.
Oh,
You have our support.
great, thank you. All right, staff report, we had a very successful conference at HVCC again, October 20th, 150 people attended. Thanks to Todd's leadership, we're progressing with that $1 million grant award from the EPA. You can see all the tremendous work that Maddie's been doing to update and keep updated our data and GIS materials. I know Maddie's favorite task is doing the school enrollment projections. Reviewing those reports is my favorite task. But we currently do 7 and maybe adding the city of Saratoga Springs to that cadre of districts. Todd and team, along with Maddie and consultants, are working on an update to our regional greenhouse gas inventory that was first done in 2010. And that's a part of the EPA funded work that we're conducting for that grant. Technical assistance projects among certain communities progress, including Mechanicville, and we're looking at truck traffic in Saratoga Springs. For some reason, people don't like trucks going through Broadway in Saratoga Springs during track season. I don't know why. But again, the staff report is a testament to the success and work of the team at CDRPC. So I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the good work of the staff here and give them a round of applause, please.
The amount of work the staff does under your guidance, I'm impressed with all the work.
Well, you try to hire, and I've been lucky to be able to hire talented people
That's a good thing.
and have the budget to do so. So thank you very much for that. But that's all I have on the staff report. There is something which is on the agenda, which was not on the original draft, and that's an executive session.
Yeah, it's on this one.
Yeah, it's on. I do have that. That would be the next. So thank you for the staff. You'd like to call an executive session?
So this executive session, for the purposes of contemplating any salary changes for the executive director.
Okay.
Cool. So the budget includes a 4% salary adjustment for me, but you can do whatever you want based on my performance. So if you want to call executive
Yeah,
session,
can
we'll
I
all
have a
leave.
motion? We'll enter into executive session. Don, and second, Judy. And we will pause the live stream and the board will enter into executive session.
So for those attending remotely, I'm gonna put you in the breakout rooms.
Did somebody just take a motion of who went out of executive session for me, please, in the time? Thank you.
All right, everyone online, you're going to be assigned to a breakout room. And so that just means we won't be part of the live stream anymore, okay? So it may ask you to confirm.
Got it.
Okay.
For like skills that executive session to handle personnel matters. Motion was, received to get out of executive session, and we are ready to close the meeting. Next commission meeting date is January 17th, 2024. May I have a motion to, thank you, Don,
Second.
and we are closed out. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.